go! The World Cup qualifiers in Africa are in an interesting state right now. You see, this qualification campaign began over a year ago in November 2023, and their last match day played at the time of this recording was June 2024, meaning we have not seen any action from this qualification campaign in particular for the last 9 months, as the next one is in the second half of March. In the meantime, these nations had to battle it out for a spot in the Africa Cup of Nations as well. 2 qualifier campaigns played simultaneously. For many teams, the forum translated in both, and others, it did not. Anyway, this pause in World Cup qualification in Africa means that we are not even halfway through. In this first round involving a group stage, only 4 of the 10 match days occurred. First place in each group will automatically qualify for the 2026 World Cup, while the 4 best second place teams will advance to the second round. That's a 4-man tournament on its own, and whoever wins will get that additional spot. Now, although we are not even halfway done with this first round, some of the standings are fascinating for the neutrals and a nightmare for some of the favorites. Group A in particular, with no surprise, Egypt lead the race to automatically qualify. If they continue to succeed, surprisingly, this would only be their 4th World Cup appearance in history. It definitely is a shock, as this is the most decorated team in all of Africa, with 7 AFCON titles to their name. Another interesting fact is they have never won a World Cup match before. They did miss the last one in Qatar, but it's hard to blame Mo Salah and co when he was bombarded with lasers in the shootout against Senegal. But yeah, with him, and now in addition Omar Mamouche now being one of the best strikers in Europe, they should be fine and continuing to thrive in this group. Every other country in this group has never qualified for the World Cup before. Burkina Faso and Ethiopia are the closest 2 to ever do it. But at the moment, Guinea-Bissau leads them for that possible second round spot. Them and Egypt go into March as the only 2 undefeated countries in this group, while Ethiopia and Djibouti are the only 2 countries to have yet to get a win. Djibouti did not have much expectation going into this campaign, as they've only been attempting to qualify for the World Cup since 2002, and they had to withdraw so many times due to financial constraints within the federation. They gave Egypt their biggest win so far, where Salah scored 4 in their 6-0 thrashing. Nothing too surprising so far in this group. You could argue that Burkina Faso could be striving for more excellence, but the point gap is very tight, and they definitely can catch up to be at least amongst the best of the second place teams. But they did choke a 2-0 lead to Sierra Leone and have fallen downhill. Still, with Tapsoba in the backline and Ouattara being exceptional for Bournemouth, they have a great crop of players and should be bouncing back. Egypt still should take them very seriously. Now Group B definitely has had quite the twist. There are only 2 undefeated teams here, Sudan and Senegal. But Sudan are hanging on to that first place spot going into March. This is a huge deal for many reasons, but the biggest point being is that this country is in the middle of a civil war right now. Going into this campaign, nothing looked hopeful for them. The war obviously impacted the federation financially, so not much expectation was there. Yet despite having more star-studded teams in their group like Senegal and DR Congo, they're doing better than both of them for now. They have yet to take on Senegal at the time of this recording, but a 1-0 victory over the Leopards will definitely be a confidence boost. And this side overall have had an incredible year or so. Well, football-wise, obviously, as they also qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations over Ghana. Genuinely one of the most impressive national teams right now. They have had some success in the past, but they have never qualified for the World Cup before. So we'll see if they can finally do it. It might be tricky though, as Senegal still look like the deadliest side on paper. They've been enjoying their own golden generation for some time, but now they need to count on some youngsters to step in, as many of those high-profile individuals are getting older. They should not be worried in regards to that though. And let's not count out DR Congo just yet. They're just 1 point behind Senegal and still have many underrated ballers that play all over Europe. All the other teams though mathematically have a chance to catch up, but it's not looking likely. None of them have picked up a win in 4 games. And the quality difference on paper is quite huge. Togo, unfortunately, are not the same as they were 20 years ago when they qualified for their first World Cup. South Sudan already taking a massive beating on the Sudan Derby. And Mauritania, who had some impressive performances in the recent AFCON, are at last at the moment with just 1 point. I'm just happy one underdog is excelling in this group. It's not the only one though. Group C is even more of a mess. And if it really finishes like this by the end, not even Nostradamus could have predicted this. Nigeria, who should be quite comfortably topping this group, are second to last. Rwanda first, South Africa in second, Benin third, Lesotho fourth, and only Zimbabwe behind them. The only team Nigeria has not faced in this group is Rwanda, and they could not win any of their other games so far. 1-1 draw to Lesotho, 1-1 draw to Zimbabwe, 1-1 draw to South Africa, and then a 2-1 loss to Benin. The first time in history Nigeria have fallen to this country in football as well. But how is it possible that the Super Eagles have fallen down this hard? I mean, they just made it to an AFCON final, but their manager at the time stepped down. The federation overall is broken, Victor Osimhen getting into feuds with the other managers coming in, and now they have Eric Chelle stepping in to lead the Super Eagles to glory once again. This is the same guy who managed Mali in the previous AFCON, and actually had them play some exciting football. However, some are still speculating how he will do, as club-wise, he has not been the best. He needs to build an identity with this team though, as on paper, their attack is some of the best in all of Africa. There should be no excuses, so hopefully for them, Chile does an okay job. Now I say they should be comfortably topping this group, but at the same time, South Africa have really been an impressive side lately. Finishing third place in the last AFCON tournament, their Belgian manager Hugo Broos proved so many wrong, even beating one of the tournament favorites Morocco in dramatic fashion. Their goalkeeper Ronwen Williams was exceptional and became the only ever African League-based goalkeeper in history to be nominated for the Yashin Award. Mokoena was one of the best midfielders in the tournament as well, I'd say. South Africa's last loss was against Nigeria in the AFCON semifinals, meaning they are heading into the next match day 11 matches unbeaten. But let's not forget about Rwanda, who are top of this group. One of the cleanest countries in all of Africa has obviously been getting clean performances on the pitch as well. They beat South Africa much earlier in the window as well. The problem is they have yet to face Nigeria, who are desperate to make a comeback here, and it will be their very next match. Now Rwanda did fail to qualify for the next AFCON, so obviously their form is not the most consistent right now, and not to mention, they do share points with second and third place in this group. So yes, at the time of this recording, they do have an automatic qualification spot, but it should be taken lightly. And Benin, as we've seen, have been improving. Finally defeating Nigeria, qualifying for AFCON, they're definitely one of the more underrated teams in African football right now. I think by the end, Nigeria will return in form, and it will be them and South Africa battling it out for that first place spot. Zimbabwe, unfortunately, I do not see much return for, but at least unlike Rwanda, they did qualify for the AFCON. We move on now to Group D, where again the point gap is too close with many back and forth results. The only two undefeated teams in this group are Cameroon, who are first place, and Angola, who are surprisingly fourth. Yup, Angola are just 2 points shy of Cameroon, as they've just picked up too many draws so far. But at the same time, Cameroon have two too many as well. Their last match was a draw to Angola, but they also failed to beat Libya either. All the teams from first to fourth have none or just one loss. Mauritius at fifth has 2, and Eswatini 4. Our first but not last country that have failed to pick up a single point so far. When you look at previous AFCONs, it is no surprise that Cape Verde and Angola have been able to squeeze through results. However, Libya is arguably outperforming. I mean, this country have not qualified for an AFCON since 2012. Cape Verde have not qualified for the most recent one, but they still brought many memories in the other recent editions of the tournament. Angola making it to the quarterfinals in the last tournament was sensational to see, and have overall been in a very impressive run on form under their trustworthy Portuguese manager Gonçalves. Their only 2 losses in 2024 came against Nigeria in AFCON and to Morocco in a friendly. They have solidified themselves as one of the more dangerous teams in Africa, and I do think they have what it takes to bounce back here. One of the most well-known players in the backline, David Carmo, has been a massive helping hand defensively for Olympiacos. Cameroon should not take them lightly, but right now, the favorites are where they need to be. They're on thin ice, but still, I think they have what it takes to widen the gap, obviously getting more wins than draws. Now Group B, sure, the favorites Morocco are at the top, but from an organizational standpoint, this group is a sinking ship. Eritrea withdrew from the qualification campaign right before it began, due to fear over players fleeing from their country in order to seek political asylum. That obviously shortened this group now to 5, but now another nation is leaving after playing just 3 matches. Congo has now been banned from FIFA, due to third-party influence, aka the government, getting in the way with the federation. They did pick up 3 for 3 losses with a -11 goal difference, but nevertheless, it's another country that will be cutting this group short. Their last match was getting obliterated by Morocco 6-0, with El Kabi scoring a hat-trick. But they also had one match against Niger, where they were supposed to be the hosts, but FIFA deemed their stadium to not fulfill their requirements. The match was ordered to take place in the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Congo refused to travel there. This awarded Niger a 3-0 victory since they did actually make the trip, and it's a huge reason why they currently sit at second place. What's interesting to note, as due to this, along with Eritrea withdrawing, Niger haven't played a World Cup qualifying match since November 2023. Tanzania share points with them at third, and Zambia unfortunately is the new last place team with just 3 points. This country scored 4 against Congo at the start, but lost all their other matches. Tanzania should take some pride though, as the only country they lost to so far was Morocco. They are the unfortunate ones to not get the chance to face Congo yet. FIFA might re-add Congo if they situate their federation properly, but at the moment, it's an immediate suspension. Group F cannot compete with the level of bizarreness Group B offered, but we do have the worst performing country in this qualification campaign so far, Seychelles. 4 for 4 losses with a -20 goal difference. We saw the highest scoreline result so far as well against them, where Ivory Coast annihilated them 9-0, back in November 2023. It did not stop there. They also got outclassed by Kenya 5-0 and then conceded 5 to Gambia as well, but at least got on the score sheet there. Burundi did the least amount of damage to them so far, but still conceded 3 to them. But Burundi still sit over Kenya and Gambia in the standings, as they did have a thrilling victory against the Gambia. Gabon have solidified themselves as the second best team in this group so far, with them only losing to the Ivory Coast. But they're only 1 point behind the AFCON champions, as Ivory Coast did drop points to Kenya, drawing that match. Nevertheless, they are still undefeated. Gambia probably the most energetic and unfortunate team here, as they had 2 results finishing 3-2 not going their way. So we'll see if the Scorpions can bounce back, but they definitely need to improve on their defensive game as they have yet to keep a clean sheet. Group G, the team at first place, is no surprise, but the point difference definitely can provide an interesting battle till the end. Algeria is at first with 9, Mozambique at second also with 9 as they each picked up a loss. Botswana, Guinea, and Uganda all tied at 6 points apiece, and Somalia is dead last with 0 points. Mozambique, you can argue, are overachieving just a tad bit, but looking at the results, they were all really close fights every time they were victorious. Even against Somalia, each match finished with just 1 goal going their way. Their luck might eventually run out, although in the last AFCON, they definitely snuck in some draws. Maybe Guinea can catch up, especially with the addition of Girassi, who at the time of this recording is the top goal scorer of the Champions League. They were unfortunate to miss AFCON as he had an injury for their first 2 qualifier games, and in the 4 which he did play, he scored 6 goals. Also, this is the only team to defeat Algeria in this group, so it will be interesting to see if they can turn it around. Botswana arguably have been overachieving themselves, just qualifying for their 2nd ever AFCON, so maybe they'll pull off better fights. But with them losing to Uganda and still sharing points with them, it's just too hard to bank on. Group H now has some hidden layers to this. Yes, the favorites Tunisia are in first place, but that does not suggest their recent form. In 2024, they had the worst start, failing to get a single win in the Africa Cup of Nations. Tough opponents, sure, but they lost to Namibia. Returning to the World Cup qualifiers, they narrowly picked up a win against Equatorial Guinea and still failed to beat Namibia. And in AFCON qualifiers, they just made it through, definitely slipping more to their liking, while Comoros topped this group instead. They took quite some time to find their new manager after sacking Faouzi Benzarti, but finally landed on Sami Trabelsi, who was also their manager from 2011 to 2013. I don't know if he was the best choice, but only time will tell. But that's not even the most important discussion about this group. It is actually the damage that's been caused to Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea had a really solid position in the standings, winning their first 2 matches 1-0. Thanks to Emiliano Nasu getting on the score sheet in each fixture. However, FIFA has found out he was actually ineligible to play for Equatorial Guinea this whole time, despite him having 42 appearances. The punishment followed with a lengthy suspension for him, along with Equatorial Guinea having to forfeit both of those victories. They turned into 3-0 losses, so Liberia and Namibia took the points instead. And now they sit at 5th place with just 1 win, when in reality they should have 3. So Namibia are second due to all of this, technically undefeated. Malawi also lost to Equatorial Guinea 1-0, but that was after this punishment, so that result is staying. Sao Tome and Principe have been the punching bag in this group though, with 4-for-4 losses. And last, but certainly not least, there's Group I, with Comoros in the lead over Ghana, but they do share the same amount of points. Then Madagascar is not too far off them at 3rd, Mali surprisingly at 4th, Central African Republic putting off some fights at 5th, and Chad all the way at the bottom. Ghana have had such a disastrous year, probably their worst in a long time. They failed to progress out of the group stages in AFCON and then failed to qualify for the next one. Now they are still in the race for this World Cup qualifier campaign, but with those 2 shortcomings, their poor form can definitely translate here. Comoros are already known for being able to upset big teams. In fact, they defeated Ghana in their last 2 meetings, and also, as I mentioned earlier, topped Tunisia in their AFCON qualifying group. Could they continue this incredible road and qualify for their first ever World Cup? What an incredible story that would be. They would be the 2nd smallest nation by population to ever qualify for the world's biggest stage, with only Iceland in front of them. They have a long road ahead of them, but they definitely have what it takes, as Ghana, yes, have been very disappointing. Despite having one of the best squads in Africa on paper still, their current manager Otto Addo has 2 wins in 10 matches. Most fingers though should be pointed at the FA's president, Kurt Okraku. Since he took charge in 2019, he has not had the best relationship with the players. The lack of respect definitely lacks a good amount of drive from them. Also, the constant change in management. For example, their previous coach Apia was sacked due to bringing in unknown players. But the irony is, he is now in charge of Sudan, who crushed Ghana's expectations of qualifying for AFCON. And of course, we cannot forget about Madagascar, who beat first place Comoros and also held off Mali to a draw. It's been disappointing stuff from Mali so far, who have an incredible crop of talent of players playing all over Europe, yet at the same time they have only been able to beat Chad so far, so they're definitely looking to make a comeback. But again, we are less than halfway through the World Cup qualifiers in Africa. There's still time for teams to return to their former selves, but there's also still time for the ones who have been disappointing to crumble even further. Overall though, this World Cup qualifier campaign has to be the messiest out of all of the confederations so far, at least leading up to this point in terms of upsets along with bans. But let me know how you guys think it will end for certain national teams. We have a really exciting international break ahead, as obviously this qualifier campaign will be resuming and UEFA will just begin as well. So a lot of coverage will be coming up for the World Cup qualifiers coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. For those of you that are not new, you probably noticed that in some of my videos, the editing has definitely upgraded a bit. You definitely have, as in those videos, most of the comments are talking about it. Well, that's because I just expanded my team and I'm now getting help from Stylogy. Special thanks to them for editing this video. They without a doubt have been helping me elevate my projects to the highest level. Easy to communicate with, but the most important part, as you can see, they deliver to perfection. I'm very happy to have them help me in the future so I can deliver more content to you guys on a regular basis. Anyway, I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. Lá com Norte.